What's going on, YouTubers? I have a great game for you here between EGidra in the bottom left-hand corner of Zelnaga Caverns, and this is the MLG version of the map, and ROOTMinigun is the teal Protoss in the upper right. The difference is they have some neutral buildings in the bottom here, so they cannot wall into the bottom. Sorry, my videos have been a little sporadic, but I've had some family stuff going on, so I'm sure you all understand. But I'm excited to get back. I've got the best of three. I believe this was for the EG Masters Cup, and this will be the first game. Awesome game between the two of them. It is going to be so much fun to watch as they are both such good players. So let's see what happens between the two of them. EGidra, as you all know, is a macro beast. He is such a good Zerg player. He took 4th in MLG Columbus recently, so losing only the Koreans. The Koreans really kind of swept that tournament pretty decisively. I can't remember if he lost to OGS the MC, or OGS MMA. I want to say it was MMA. I want to say he lost to MMA. Correct me though. I'm not 100% certain. I watched the game, but I can't for the life of me remember. ROOTMinigun, and a little neat note about him is actually StarCraft 2 is his first competitive RTS. He was not a Brood War kid like Idra was, or like a what do you call that? Supreme Commander. There you go. That's what I was looking for. Or a Warcraft kid like Rubby was. So this is kind of his first competitive, and he's actually making quite a name for himself. People know him. He's a good player. Obviously, he was picked up by Team Root. So definitely someone to keep an eye on, and he's really fun to watch. I like how Adria does the spawning pool first, knowing and expecting some sort of block down here, as the probe was kind of hovering around down here. Let's see how long he's able to hold this off. I think Dam is bringing down 2 drones to hopefully kill this probe up before anything happens, and he drops the pylon down. That's a little rough. That's really going to delay his expansion. So it's just going to grab one of his drones and go drone scout up the top, while the other one just kind of chases this pylon down, or probe down, to kind of prevent it from getting too much scouting information. He's got to bounce this thing out of here. It looks like a lot of Protoss you'll see pylon block, especially for someone who, against like Idra, who is such a macro beast. I do like that he canceled it, recovering some of that money, knowing he doesn't need to let that finish. Finishing it is going to be unnecessary, and he's just going to use the rest pylon now, it looks like, to just do a little jig and kind of, you know, do it manually, not waste any more minerals on dropping another pylon. Idra is getting close to that 300 mark, so I wouldn't be surprised. He does have 4 Zerglings on the way, so he's going to be a little bit late. He'll be throwing his money where he can to make sure it stays under 300 for as long as he can, but eventually it's going to catch up to him with him. He's going to lose larva. He's going to run out of larva. There goes the hatchery, though. Maybe I'll drop that down before these Zerglings are able to do anything and kill that probe off, but they are going to give a little bit of a chase. So let's see what happens down here. We do have the typical gateway cybernetics core dropping with warp gate research going down right away. I do like this placement right here. You'll see a lot of pros do this as well. Is they drop it right at the edge, so they can just kind of have an edge and warp in and up and down if they need to, especially if they are taking this alleyway of attack. They can quickly warp in reinforcements right here to defend. So we'll see what happens as far as that goes. And a telltale sign as to what they're doing, and this is why you want to keep the drone in here or a scout in here as long as they can, if you can get it in here, is to see what unit comes next. Now, if you see a sentry like you are seeing now, 90% of the time the Protoss is expanding. So he sees a sentry, he knows right away that there probably is going to be an early expansion, because if you take a look, sentries are super duper cheap. They're 50 minerals and 100 gas. That's it. So when you do that, you're not spending a lot of minerals. Typically, it means you're saving up for some sort of expansion, just getting the bare minimum amount of units necessary to defend. And if you see a stalker, though, you could expect something like a 2-gateway pressure into expand, or he may 4-gate you, or he might do a delayed 4-gate or a 3-gate pressure and expand. So that second unit outside after the zealot is absolutely telling of what he's going to do. And a little trick I like to use too is, a lot of times if you drone scout or you SCV scout and he has a zealot right in this wall right here, an easy way to scoot by him is to bring the worker here and then right click on these minerals right over here, and he will glide on by, just go right by the wall and not really, and completely ignore the zealot 100% and get in here, so you can get a scout off one way or another, which is why I like to drone scout still against Protoss. I've been trying to drone scout less and less, but it's definitely something worth doing in my opinion. And also, too, is if he saw the double gas, which he did, you know he's not going to do any crazy pressure or a crazy 4-gate attempt. So that's also telling as well. And here we are, we're going to be warping in a bunch more sentries to get these Zerglings the hell out of here. And yep, he's going to go for the expansion. Dropping that pylon down here and then grabbing this is obviously he's grabbing that expansion. So yeah, like I said, sentries can can just tell you straight away that he's going to be grabbing an expansion, finishing off those Zerglings, and moving on down here to do a little scouting action of his own, see what he's got going on. Now, EGidra has two options, and I should have been poking a little bit further down here a little earlier. When he knew the expansion was coming, he, in my opinion, had two options. He could punish him for expanding by going early roaches, which is what he's looking like he's doing, and putting on some pressure, knowing those sentries aren't too much of a problem. Sorry about that little cut there. So, as I was saying, he could do the early pressure with the roaches, which it seems like he's going. He's going to try and punish him for this, knowing that he's not going to have really the units to do it. He's going to try to take out these sentries right now. Is he going to be able to? No, this force field is actually a very imperative move right here. Thinking about swinging those Zerglings around, but smartly pulling them back before any damage is done, and he's going to look like he's going to move into the expansion right now anyway and do some damage. So like I was saying, this is one of the things he could do. The other one is he could have sat back and actually grabbed a third base and macroed up. Actually, might have been a little bit smart that he did this because of the pressure that he was putting on with those sentries. So yeah, he's going to lose those Zerglings as he tries to cut them off, but a bunch more Zerglings moving around, trying to do a surround, but those force fields to stop these force fields are going to be imperative, since he doesn't really have much as troops to speak of outside of a few Stalkers and a Zealot, and all those sentries go down very, very quickly to Zergling and Roaches, but the Roaches are going to be forced to pull back because of these force fields. Don't want to move into this choke right here. That's just a suicide and Death Witch waiting to happen. So he's going to move around. He's going to see what kind of damage he can do here. If any of this force fields, good force field place, but again, separating those roaches, making these easy to pick off. Forcing these roaches to move around the force field and engage at a different angle, really just making these much weaker than they actually are. And he's going to clean this up very nicely, while EGidra swings in some more Zerglings to try and continue this punishment with 6 more Zerglings on the way. And he's just going to try to continue to punish ROOTMinigun for expanding, but it looks like Minigun is going to be able to hold this off fine. And he looks like EGidra on the minimap is pulling his Zerglings back, knowing that the more he throws at him, the more it's just kind of sacrificing. And we will see some sort of wall here, I bet. As long as this pylon's here, you'll probably see a few pylons drop. Somewhere in this general vicinity right here, as they like to do, is to create a little bit of a wall, force the enemy to swing around and narrow that choke. So we'll check back on that in a second. We do have a bunch of Zerglings dropping down. But he has stopped the Zergling production, upgrading to layer at this point. Particularly the unit count, he ROOTMinigun, having defended that pressure, has allowed himself to go ahead of him in the worker count. So it's paid off for him in the general sense. It's paid off. So let's see if that actually is going to win him the game, as he is now going for his third base. EGidra is, and knocking down these rocks, knowing that he's a little bit behind because he sacrificed drone production for some sort of army push.